Don't let your emotions dictate your delivery, because your team member will follow your emotion. Let me say that again. Let me say this again. Do not, to the best of your ability, let your emotions dictate your delivery, because your team member will follow your emotion. If you happen to get a little out of control with your emotions, remind yourself that having a better conversation is contingent upon your ability to control your emotions. Hey, Entreleaders, and happy Wednesday. Welcome to the 32nd episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how to have crucial conversations with your virtual team. Now, I don't know about you, but most people do not like conflict. It makes most of us uncomfortable. Many managers and leaders are hesitant to engage in conflict in a crucial conversation with team members due to being unsure of how to approach the situation. Having tough conversations is important because it can help with the overall health and well-being of your team. Avoiding crucial conversations, however, can actually worsen the situation. And the longer you prolong having that conversation, the more it can negatively impact your team's productivity and work relationships. So today, I am sharing 5 tips that you can use when having these crucial conversations with your virtual team. If you are ready, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, you can type in ready. And if you're listening on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or any other, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in again. And if you want to watch the video version, you can head over to www.youtube.com/DrCharityTV. And there is an entire playlist of all of the video podcast episodes that we've recorded so far in 2021. All right, let's get ready and get started with tip number 1. The first thing you should do prior to having a crucial conversation is be prepared. Honey, do your homework. Have proof or facts about the issue that's at hand that needs to be resolved. For example, if you have a team member that is frequently late to work or to meetings, make sure that you have your clear attendance policy in hand to enforce the rules and guidelines about the attendance policy. Also, another example is, what if there is a member that has a complaint about another member? Ask the right questions without it turning into, something unprofessional, so you can have a working knowledge about the grievance to assist in working out the conflict. How can you help solve the problem or the issue if you are unaware of what it is and to what extent? So the first thing in being prepared is have some proof, right? And the second thing is be prepared to conquer your fears. As I mentioned before, not many managers and leaders actually like conflict. And having a crucial conversation, it's a conflict, right? I think we can agree on that it is a conflict. There's some type of issue that has occurred that now says, hey, we have to address this issue. And many managers and leaders, they actually fear failing having these conversations or making mistakes, or even having employees become upset as a result of having difficult conversation. So you want to make sure that you conquer those fears, think positively, and also remember the overall goal, the overall result that we are trying to accomplish when we're having these crucial conversations is not to offend anyone. It's not to hurt anyone's feelings. It's so that after this conversation, the solution or the issue can be resolved so that we can continue to grow and move forward. Next, when we're talking about being prepared, plan out your conversation. Anticipate any questions that might be asked or any rebuttals that might be given. This way you can respond and remain in a positive disposition as opposed to having a negative reaction. Okay, so that's the first way. The first tip is to be prepared. Tip number 2 is to be real. Be real. If you're getting ready to have this crucial conversation, the person knows that they didn't do something right. It must be something wrong. So just be real, be honest and clear about why you're having the conversation. Don't be general, but give specific examples with proof, as I just mentioned. Also, be direct. Get to the point quickly and respectfully. And then also be positive by setting the tone for your meeting. So that's for tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to be mindful. Be mindful. Be mindful of what, Dr. C? I got you. Be mindful, first of all, of your language. Words matter. Let me say this again. Words matter. They matter so much, especially in a tough conversation. Remember the feedback sandwich method that I mentioned a few weeks ago when we were talking about giving feedback to your teams, the P&P, positive, negative, positive, right? Make sure you start off with the positive, then get to the negative, and then finish up with the positive, okay? And then follow up with ideas of what a positive outcome or solution actually looks like so they can have something to work towards. This is something that I mentioned when we were talking about giving feedback to teams. Don't just, tell the team member what's wrong with them. Tell them how they can improve. Give them some ideas. So this is being mindful of your language. The next thing to be mindful of is your tone. Woo! Oftentimes, and I think we all are guilty of this at some point. Oftentimes, it's not what we say, but how we say it. It's not what we say, but how we say it. Take this example. Tim, you've been late way too much, and it is completely unprofessional, and it's starting to make our company look bad. What is wrong with you? Obviously, that's not the good example, right? Obviously, that's not the good example. As opposed to, hey, Tim, I've noticed the difference in your attendance lately. Now, before I jump to any conclusions, I just want to ask, is everything all right? Exactly the same thing, but just said in a different tone with better words. You have to mind your language, right? Mind your language. Okay. Mind your language, mind your tone. And then also, this one, mind your emotions. Be mindful of your emotions. Know your triggers. Know your triggers so that you can stay level-headed and even-tempered. Don't let your emotions dictate your delivery because your team member will follow your emotion. Let me say that again. Let me say this again. Do not, to the best of your ability, let your emotions dictate your delivery because your team member will follow your emotion. If you happen to get a little out of control with your emotions, remind yourself that having a better conversation is contingent upon your ability to control your emotions. So, I really don't know any other way to put it other than to say, be mindful of your triggers. If someone responds to you in a negative way or someone says something to you, that can push your buttons, pump brakes. Breathe. do some breathing exercises. And obviously, you don't have to make it obvious that you are struggling with your emotions. Where you're just like, you know what, I need to breathe. You don't have to do all of that, right? We also have maturity as managers and leaders in the workplace. You can just, as the other person is talking, responding, regardless of if they're outraged or whatever. Thank you for sharing that. And then proceed, right? Also, when we're talking about being mindful of our emotions, I want you to be empathetic. Be empathetic and exercise some empathy here. And remember that people have real issues, real life issues outside of your organization. It could be anything that's going on, something that they're not going to share with you necessarily, that they're struggling with or dealing with. And it just tags along with them to work. Could be a new issue. That's why you see a change in their behavior patterns or a change in their productivity. So just be empathetic and ask questions, which is bringing me to the next part. Be conversational. This is not a monologue. When we're having these crucial conversations, it's called conversation because there should be some type of dialogue that's happening. Ask open-ended questions and allow time for response. Especially if the question might catch the member off guard, they may not have been prepared for this. They may not have been prepared for the crucial conversation in the first place. You want to give them an opportunity to respond. You want to ask open-ended questions and then give them an opportunity to respond. And then you also want to allow the team member to ask questions to you so that you can give detailed responses. This is a conversation. It's a two-way street. There's more, usually it's two participants, unless there's more than one that's involved in this meeting. But you want to be able to give other people a chance to ask questions, and you have detailed responses. Be conversational. Okay, that's number 4. And number 5, you see, we're getting through these pretty quickly, huh? Number 5 is be helpful. This goes back to the feedback sandwich model that I was talking about: positive, negative, positive, and then also giving feedback. Giving feedback in the form of a solution. Offer a solution. We're not just having these crucial conversations so that I can just critique you and make you feel like you're doing a terrible job, or I'm just going to present the issue to you and that's it. Boom, shut the door, shut the book, we're done. No, I want to offer you a solution, because how else will the team member know how to improve or rectify the situation without your input? After clarifying and reiterating the reason for the conversation and the critique, offer suggestions, recommendations, or a solution on how they can improve, okay? Don't just give them all the bad. Don't just tell them what's wrong with them. Tell them how they can improve. Offer real suggestions, actionable tasks, or steps that they can take towards the right direction. Start moving in the right direction. The next thing also that you want to do in being helpful is ensure confidentiality. Anyone not involved in the conversation should stay that way. Remember to be courteous and professional. You are a manager. You're a senior manager. You're an executive. You're a leader. This is not a gossip lounge. You don't go talking about the team member and what they did wrong to other team members. You don't do that. You let what happened in that office, in that space, in that room, what happened in that virtual conversation. Okay, because we're talking about dealing with virtual teams too, but obviously this works for any type of team, whether it is in person, whether it is in the office, or whether it's virtual. But whatever happens in that meeting stays in that meeting, between the parties in the meeting, between the parties in attendance. It doesn't need to go off to someone else. What happened? Oh, child, let me tell you what happened. So-and-so was messed up, girl. He finally got in trouble. I had to get on him because he was just late all the time. That's so unprofessional. So remember to be courteous and professional. This is not the gossip lounge. And at the end of the day, as a leader, as a manager, you are put in the position you are in so that you can help your team members grow and flourish into the best versions of themselves professionally and even personally sometimes that they can. And then, of course, after you offer a solution, follow up as needed, but try not to micromanage. After you give a solution, wait a little while, see if it's being implemented, see how it's being carried out, and then follow up. And if it's not being implemented, then you might just need to review and reiterate, hey, remember the solution? Remember the suggestion that I gave? I'm not necessarily seeing it being executed. It could be that maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe they thought that you meant, this is just a suggestion, not a requirement. Or maybe they misinterpreted how you wanted it to be carried out, so they do it in the way that they think best. Whatever the circumstance is, follow-up is necessary. Just make sure that you don't micromanage, but you do follow up just to ensure that things are progressing in the correct direction. direction. So again, I hope that these five tips were very, very useful to you. I'll repeat them once again. The first tip is to be prepared. Make sure you do your homework. You have your proof, your facts. You bring everything to the table. You are ready to let the team member know what the issue is. You have proof. You have it backing up. Be prepared. Have proof. Conquer your fears. Plan out your conversation. Plan out what it is that you want to say. Okay. Anticipate any questions or rebuttals that might come up. And then the second tip is to just be real, be honest, be clear, be direct about what the conversation is about. Don't waste any time. Get to the point quickly and respectfully. Then tip number 3 is be mindful. Be mindful of your language, because words matter. What we say matters. And not only that, but be mindful of your tone, because what you say and how you say it, the way you say it, can make a world of difference. So being mindful of your tone. Then also being mindful of your emotions. What are your triggers? Make sure that you are aware of your triggers and your emotions so that you can stay level-headed and even-tempered. Tip number 4 is be conversational. Ask open-ended questions, and then give a chance for the team member to respond. And then also let somebody else ask questions and you give a detailed response. Tip number 5 is be helpful. Don't just critique and talk about what's wrong, the issue, but offer a solution and then follow up with that solution. See if it's being implemented. Also check up on the person, see how they're doing as they're moving forward. Listen, I really hope that you enjoyed this 30-second episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. And if you are listening today or watching, please accept my gratitude for rocking with me in 2021. It encourages me to know that somebody somewhere is benefiting from my obedience. And as a thank you, I'd love to give you a copy of 31 powerful affirmations to transform your mind, to empower you and your development as a better manager and as a better Entreleader. I want to see you succeed in all areas of your life. And it first begins with your mind. And you can visit the link in the show notes or description box below to download your free copy of these affirmations, or simply type 𝙤𝗟𝗖𝙙𝙬 in your web browser. Don't forget to subscribe to the Leaders Lab podcast, download today's episode, rate, comment, and share so we can continue reaching millennial Entreleaders all across the globe. And remember, you can connect with me on social media. I am everywhere at DrCharityTV, and also on Facebook, I am DrCharityTV page. You can see my page right there. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next week in the lab.
Thank you for listening to the Leaders Lab podcast. Visit our website at www.drcharitytv.com.